Welcome in, everybody, to a deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we are going,
Ooh, deep dive. I like that.
so today we are going to be taking a look at James Clear,
Okay.
the author of Atomic Habits,
Yep.
and specifically an interview that he did
Okay.
on the Behind the Brand YouTube channel.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about habits, obviously,
Right.
but we're also going to be talking about entrepreneurship,
Okay.
building an audience, and just kind of his whole approach to thinking about those things.
Yeah. And you know what's really fascinating about this interview is that he goes even deeper
Oh, yeah.
than he does in Atomic Habits. Like he reveals some stuff that he had never shared before.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
So we're going to unpack all of that today.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
One of the things that really struck me about this interview with him
Yeah.
was how he emphasizes that habits are votes for the kind of person you want to become.
Yeah.
It's not just about achieving a specific outcome, right?
Right.
It's about shaping your identity.
Right. Totally. And you know what's crazy? He actually says in the interview that that wasn't even the main point he was trying to make in Atomic Habits.
Oh, really?
It was the reader response that brought that to light.
Oh, wow.
Like people were writing to him saying, this is the most profound takeaway from the book. And he was like, huh. I didn't even realize that was the core message.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's amazing how sometimes those most powerful insights come from unexpected places.
It's true. It's true. And, it actually reminds me of a personal story. I was having these persistent headaches a few years ago,
Oh, yeah.
and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then finally I realized, my sugar intake was pretty high.
Right.
My sleep schedule was all over the place. And I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm identifying as someone who has headaches, right? Like my habits are voting for that identity.
Right.
And so I started thinking okay, well, if I want to be someone who doesn't have headaches,
Mm.
what are the habits that that person would have?
Right.
And I started changing my diet. I started being more consistent with my sleep,
Yeah.
and the headaches went away.
Wow. So it was really a shift in perspective more than anything else.
Yeah. It wasn't about white knuckling it and just trying to power through.
Right.
It was about who do I want to be?
Yeah.
And then what are the actions that support that
Oh.
identity?
That's awesome. I love that story. And it really connects to that idea of the long game, which is something else that Clear talks about a lot in the interview, especially when it comes to building an audience.
Yeah, that was actually something I was really curious to hear him talk about because he's built this massive email list.
Oh, yeah. He's got 3.5 million subscribers.
It's crazy. It's huge, right?
It's insane.
And I was like, what's his secret?
Right, right.
And, it's not some fancy marketing tactic or a growth hack or anything.
It's not.
It's actually really simple.
Yeah, what is it?
It's creating great content consistently. That's it.
He just keeps putting out amazing stuff.
Yeah, he actually spent 3 years writing 2 articles per week,
Wow.
like clockwork.
So that's hundreds of articles.
Yeah, just churning out high quality content.
Consistently providing value.
Exactly. And, he walks the walk.
Yeah.
He gives specific examples in the interview.
Like what?
He always starts his articles with a story,
Oh, that's smart.
something that's going to hook you emotionally
Okay.
right from the get-go.
Makes you want to keep reading.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just about the information, it's about the presentation too.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And, it's funny because even with 3.5 million subscribers, he's like, this is still early days for email lists.
Really?
Yeah.
He thinks there's still so much potential there.
Yeah, he's like, this is just the beginning.
Wow. That's pretty encouraging for anyone who's trying to build an audience right now.
Right.
It's not too late to get started.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what that makes me think about is
What valuable content could you create to build your audience? What unique perspective do you have?
right, what are you passionate about? What do you know that you could share with the world?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be something that you're already an expert in.
Right.
It could be something that you're learning about.
Yeah, just document your journey.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a really powerful takeaway for anyone listening.
It is. It's about playing the long game,
Yeah.
providing value consistently.
Yeah, and I think, to kind of put a finer point on that, he breaks it down into 3 key elements.
Okay.
Great content, obviously.
Number 1.
Right, smart design and conversion strategies. So thinking about,
That's good.
how you're presenting the content and how you're getting people to take action.
Right. Make it easy for them to sign up to follow you,
Yeah.
to engage with your work.
Exactly. And then the third element is continuously finding new ways to drive traffic.
Gotcha. So you can't just create great content. You have to make sure people actually see it. Right. You have to get it out there.
Okay.
And that's a whole other skill set.
It is, but it's something that you can learn and improve over time.
Absolutely.
And you know what's cool?
Yeah.
Clear's all about adapting those strategies as you go.
Oh, yeah. He talks about how, the traditional view of consistency is kind of like this rigid thing.
Right. You have to stick to the schedule no matter what.
Yeah. And he's like, no.
Life happens.
Exactly. Like things change.
Yeah.
You have to be able to adapt.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up even when you can't do things exactly the way you planned.
Totally. And you know what he said that I thought was really interesting? Was he was like, my writing habits have changed over time.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, he used to write 2 blog posts a week,
Yeah.
and then he got a book deal.
Makes sense.
And, other commitments came up.
Yeah, life gets busy.
And so now he does a weekly newsletter.
Okay.
And he was like, it's still consistent.
But, right, he's still showing up.
Yeah, exactly. And he has this great mantra for navigating those shifts.
Ooh, what is it?
Reduce the scope, but stick to the schedule.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah, so if you're feeling overwhelmed, adjust the size of the task, but don't give up on the habit entirely.
Yeah, like if you're trying to launch a full product line
Yeah,
and you realize you don't have the time,
right.
start with the minimum viable product.
Get something out there.
Yeah, just get it out there.
Test it, get feedback, iterate.
Exactly.
I love that.
And it's funny because I actually do something similar, but I call it sandbagging.
Sandbagging, what's that?
Okay, so like let's say I'm going to the gym
Yeah,
and I'm really not feeling it that day.
Dale's been there.
Right. I'll
Yeah.
be like, all right, I'm just going to do 2 reps of this heavy lift.
Oh, okay.
And then I usually end up doing way more.
Because once you get started, the momentum takes over.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like tricking myself into starting.
Lowering that barrier to entry.
Yeah. And he actually has a similar trick.
What's...
He commits to doing just the first set at the gym.
Oh, I like that.
And he's like, usually that's enough to get me going.
Yeah, once you're there, you might as well keep going.
Right.
It's all about those little psychological hacks
Yeah.
to make those positive changes stick.
Exactly. And it's funny because like he would always put on the same playlist
Right.
when he sat down to write,
Interesting.
like signal to his brain that it was time to work.
Like a trigger to get into that flow state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, I thought that was a really interesting tactic.
It is. It's all about setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, and speaking of success, he made this really fascinating observation in the interview.
Yeah. What was that?
He said that people follow incentives,
Hmm.
not advice.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Right.
Yeah, it's like we're all driven by what benefits us ultimately.
Yeah, and he told this really compelling story from Boeing.
Okay.
So when Boeing was transitioning from manually driven planes to software-driven planes,
Wow, that big.
a huge change, right?
Yeah.
They required the engineers who wrote the software to be on the first test flights.
Whoa, hold on. So the people who wrote the code that was flying the plane had to be on the plane.
Had to be on the plane.
That's intense.
Talk about accountability.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right.
They really had skin in the game.
Yeah, they were invested in making sure that software worked.
That's a brilliant way to align incentives.
Yeah, and he actually suggested this really simple framework for analyzing incentive alignment.
Okay, tell me more.
He said, ask yourself 3 questions.
Yeah.
Who does the work?
Okay.
Who reaps the rewards?
Got it.
And who bears the consequences?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah, because if those things aren't aligned, you're going to run into problems.
Exactly. So it's like a really simple but powerful tool for just kind of checking in.
Yeah, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, and that you're setting yourself up for success.
And that your incentives are actually driving the right behaviors.
Exactly.
I love that framework.
Me too.
It's so practical.
Yeah, and it's funny because he also talked about this tension between exploration and exploitation.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right?
Yeah, like when do you double down on what's working?
Yeah.
And when do you go out and try new things?
Exactly. And it's interesting to hear that he's currently focused on scaling his existing business.
Okay, so he's in exploitation mode right now.
Yeah, he's like, Atomic Habits is doing great.
Makes sense.
I'm going to focus on maximizing that.
Smart.
But he also acknowledged that like entrepreneurial itch to explore.
Right. He still has that curiosity, that drive to create new things.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've been having this like
Yeah.
kind of random idea lately.
Oh, tell me.
Okay, so have you ever heard of like Hokkaido milk?
Hokkaido milk, is that from Japan?
Yeah, it's like this region in Japan that's known for its dairy.
Okay.
And they make this incredible butter.
Oh, wow. I love butter.
Right. It's so good.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about like, what if I created a boutique butter brand?
A boutique butter brand. Interesting.
Yeah, sourcing it directly from Hokkaido.
That's a very niche market.
Yeah, it's totally different from like
Yeah.
Clear's approach of like reaching millions of people.
Right. It's more about quality over quantity.
Exactly. And it's just like this little passion project that I've been thinking about.
I love that. And it just goes to show that there's no one right way to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
You can have a massive global business like Clear's,
Yeah,
or you can have a small artisanal butter company.
exactly. And it's all about like what lights you up.
Yeah, what aligns with your values and your goals.
Yeah, and you know what Clear said that I thought was really interesting about new ventures?
What's that?
He said he wouldn't pursue an idea unless he felt compelled to,
Hmm.
even if he knew it was going to be challenging
Oh.
and potentially unsuccessful.
So it's about that gut feeling that, like, I have to do this.
Yeah, even if it doesn't make sense on paper.
Even if everyone tells you it's a bad idea.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's where that exploration comes in.
Yeah, you have to be willing to experiment, to try new things.
And you know, he made a really good point.
Yeah.
He said the best time to experiment with new ideas is when things are going well in your life,
Ooh, that's a good one.
not when you're desperate or burnt out.
Right, because you have more bandwidth to take risks
Exactly.
when you're not feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective.
It is. It's about taking calculated risks from a place of strength.
Yeah, not out of necessity.
Exactly.
And you know, this whole conversation has got me thinking about fulfillment.
Ooh, yeah, that's the big one.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to be fulfilled?
It's such a personal question.
Yeah. And there's no right answer.
Right. It's different for everyone.
And, you know, we even talked about some contrasting examples, like my brother-in-law, he loves his stable 9-to-5 job.
Okay.
He's content. He's happy.
Good for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas you and I, we're both driven to create new things.
Yeah. We like to explore, to experiment.
Exactly. And Clear himself,
Yeah.
he said that he realized
Yeah.
he's happiest when he's creating, regardless of what it is.
Whether it's writing a book, building a business,
Yeah, designing a trail system.
it's about the act of creation itself.
Exactly. And so I
Yeah.
think that's a really powerful question for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Like, what activities bring you the most meaning and joy? What makes you feel most fulfilled?
That's something to really think about.
Yeah, and we're going to delve deeper into those ideas in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay. I'm excited to continue this conversation.
Yeah, me too. But for now, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking quote
Ooh, I love a good quote.
from T.S. Eliot.
Okay, let's hear it.
He said, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time."
Wow, that's deep.
Right.
Yeah, it's like we go on these journeys, we
Mhm.
try new things, we learn and grow,
Yeah.
and ultimately it all leads us back to ourselves.
But with a new perspective.
Exactly, we see things differently.
So with that in mind, I encourage you to reflect on this question.
Okay.
How will you balance exploration and exploitation in your own life?
That's a good one.
It's a question that I think we're all constantly grappling with.
Definitely.
And there's no easy answer, but it's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely.
So I hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Yeah, me too.
And we'll see you in the next part.
Sounds good. You know, when T.S. Eliot talks about like arriving where we started, but knowing it for the first time, it's almost like
Yeah.
this journey we go on is a cycle.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just a straight line.
No.
It's like we expand outwards.
Yeah.
And then we come back in.
And then we integrate those experiences.
Yes, exactly.
Into who we are.
And I think that's so powerful.
It is. And you know, one
Um,
thing that really struck me about Clear's approach to all this
Yeah.
is this emphasis on aligning your actions with your desired identity.
Yes. Yes.
It's not just about achieving outcomes. It's
Mhm.
about becoming the kind of person who
Mm.
naturally embodies those qualities.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a shift from focusing on external markers of success
Yeah,
to cultivating a deeper sense of self.
totally. And he talks about how like those external achievements are kind of fleeting.
Yeah, they come and go.
Yeah, but becoming a healthy person, a successful entrepreneur, a leader in your field,
Yeah.
that's a more enduring transformation.
It is. It's like building those habits that reinforce your desired self-image,
Right.
not just checking things off a list.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting to think about this in the context of Clear's own entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
Like right now, he's focused on exploiting his existing business.
Right, he's maximizing atomic habits,
Exactly.
which makes sense.
Yeah, it's a smart move.
But he still has that itch to explore.
Right.
Still has that
That
curiosity.
drive to create new things.
Yeah, and that tension between exploration and exploitation.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Oh, absolutely.
Like knowing when to double down on what's working
Yeah.
and when to go out and try something new.
Right. And it's different for everyone.
It is, yeah.
There's no right answer.
And, like you were saying earlier, my interest in this boutique butter brand.
Oh, yeah, the Hokkaido butter.
Yeah, it's like,
I love that idea, by the way.
it's so different
It is.
from Clear's current focus on scaling.
Yeah.
But it's just like this little thing.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
There's no one right way to be an entrepreneur.
exactly.
You can have a massive global business,
Yeah.
or you can have a small artisanal butter company.
And you know what I thought was really interesting about what Clear said about new ventures?
Yeah.
He said he wouldn't pursue an idea
Yeah.
unless he felt compelled to, even if he knew it would be challenging.
Wow. So it's really about trusting your gut,
Yeah.
being willing to take risks,
Even if it doesn't make sense on paper.
and ideally taking those risks from a place of strength,
Right.
not out of desperation.
Yeah. Which he actually made that point too.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
He said the best time to experiment with new ideas
Yeah.
is when things are going well in your life,
Ooh, that's a good one.
not when you're burnt out.
Right, because you have the bandwidth.
Yeah, you have the energy.
How to handle those setbacks.
Exactly. And, all of this is making me think about this idea of adaptability.
Yeah.
Like, we get so caught up in this hustle mentality.
Yeah, gotta grind, gotta push, gotta strive.
And sometimes the most fulfilling path is actually slowing down.
Connecting with your passions,
Yeah.
doing things that maybe don't fit
Right.
the traditional definition of success.
And that flexibility,
Yeah,
I think that's what allows us to stay consistent in the long run.
totally. Because life throws curveballs.
It does.
You have to be able to adjust.
Yeah. And Clear's mantra of reduce the scope, but stick to the schedule.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
It's such a good reminder.
It is.
Like if you don't have time for a full workout,
Yeah.
do a shorter one.
Yeah. If you can't write a whole article,
Right.
write a paragraph.
It's about maintaining that momentum.
Even if it's in a modified way.
Yeah. And that actually reminds me of something else Clear said that I thought was really powerful.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
He said that people follow incentives, not advice.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Such a good insight.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we all have this internal compass
Yeah.
that guides us toward what benefits us most.
Whether we're aware of it or not.
Yeah, and the Boeing story,
Yeah.
the engineers having to be on the test flight.
Talk about accountability.
Right.
That's brilliant.
That's aligning incentives.
in a very real way.
Yeah, so it's like, think about your own projects. Are the incentives structured
Yeah.
in a way that encourages the desired behaviors?
Or are there misalignments that could
Ah.
create problems?
It's a good question to ask.
It is.
And I think it's something that we often overlook.
Yeah, we focus on the goals and the strategies. But we forget about the underlying incentives.
That shape behavior.
Exactly. And that's where Clear's framework comes in.
Yeah.
Asking who does the work, who reaps the rewards, who bears the consequences.
It's such a simple
Yeah,
but powerful tool
it is.
for uncovering those potential misalignments
Yeah.
and creating systems that encourage the right actions.
And it's not just about external rewards and punishments.
Right.
It's also about aligning our actions with our own internal values and motivations.
Yes, exactly.
Finding that sweet spot
Yep.
where our passions and interests
Yeah.
intersect with the needs of the world around us.
And that brings us back to fulfillment.
Oh, yes.
What does it actually mean to be fulfilled?
It's the big question, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And, Clear's journey
Yeah.
offers some really valuable insights.
What did he discover?
He realized that he's happiest
Yeah.
when he's creating,
Mm.
regardless of what it is.
So it's not about the outcome.
Right.
It's about the process.
The act of creation itself.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it made me think about how often we get caught up
Yeah.
in chasing external validation.
Yeah. Got to get those likes.
Right, got to get those
Got to
achievements.
get that promotion.
And we forget that
Yeah.
fulfillment often comes from within.
It does.
It's about finding those activities
Yeah.
that light us up,
That make us feel alive.
that make us feel engaged.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so inspiring
Yeah.
about both your journey and Clear's.
It's a journey of self-discovery
Yeah.
and constant evolution.
It's about embracing those challenges
Yeah.
and those setbacks.
It has opportunities to grow.
Yeah, and it's also about finding joy
Yeah.
in those everyday moments.
Even amidst the chaos.
Yeah.
Huh?
And so With that in mind,
Yeah.
I want to ask our listeners,
Yeah.
what brings you a sense of fulfillment?
Good question.
What activities make you feel
Yeah.
most alive, most engaged?
Most connected to your true self.
It's a question worth pondering. And as we continue our deep dive into James Clear's insights,
Okay.
we're going to explore some additional strategies
Cool.
for habit formation.
Love it.
And we're going to delve deeper
Okay.
into the profound impact that our habits have
All right.
on shaping our lives.
I'm ready.
As we kind of wrap up this deep dive into James Clear,
Mm.
I'm struck by,
Yeah.
how much he emphasizes the power of small changes.
It's funny, right? Because we always want like the big dramatic
Yeah.
breakthrough,
Yeah.
but it really is those tiny,
Yeah.
consistent actions that add up.
Yeah, and he uses this great analogy of a plane taking off.
Okay.
And he's like, a 1-degree shift in the trajectory
Yeah.
might seem insignificant at first,
Right.
but over a transatlantic flight,
Uh-huh.
it could mean landing in Paris instead of London.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just shows you how, like, those daily choices,
Yeah, those little habits,
Ugh.
they really determine our destination
they determine our destiny.
in every sense of the word.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, it makes me think about this whole question of, like, finding your purpose,
Oh, yeah.
finding your path.
The big question.
The big question, right?
Right.
And I think so many people get caught up in that, like,
Yeah.
what am I meant to do?
Your purpose.
Yeah. Clear's advice is actually
Okay.
really simple.
What is it?
He's like, just start creating.
Mm.
Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Just make something,
Like what?
anything.
Yeah, he actually talks about how he finds fulfillment
Yeah.
in bringing something new into the world.
Right.
Whether it's a book, a business,
Yeah.
even a trail system on his property.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
this grand world-changing thing.
Right.
It could be writing a blog post,
Uh-huh.
taking a photograph,
Yeah.
cooking a delicious meal
Okay.
for a friend.
It's about expressing yourself.
Yes, yeah.
Creating something.
And then not getting too caught up in,
like the outcome.
right.
Just enjoying the process.
The journey is the destination.
Yeah, and I think that ties back
Yeah.
beautifully to that T.S. Eliot quote.
Oh, yeah.
We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time.
I love that quote.
It's so good.
It really speaks to the cyclical nature of growth and self-discovery.
Yeah, we go out,
Yeah.
we try new things,
We explore,
we learn,
we come back,
and then we see things with a fresh
Yeah.
perspective.
like we've never seen them before.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into James Clear, I want to leave our listeners with 3 key takeaways.
Okay, let's hear them.
Embrace the power of small changes.
Love it.
Find joy in the act of creation
Yes.
and never stop exploring.
Keeps diving deep.
Keep diving deep because it's through those explorations
Yeah.
that we discover our true potential
And create a life.
and create a life filled with meaning and purpose.
That's what it's all about.
So thank you for joining us on this journey.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope these insights empower you on your own entrepreneurial adventure.
Go out there and make something amazing.
Keep diving deep.
Yeah.
And until next time, stay curious.